Good. You know, we're not close. We don't chat regularly. We exchange texts on holidays occasionally. Well, you know, Christmas always, but throughout the year, occasionally a text here, a text there. There's a lot of situations where I was put in. The only way you could describe it would be, you know, embarrassing type of situations. When people say, oh, how could you let Vince McMahon do that to you? Well, Vince McMahon did it to himself. Vince McMahon did it to his daughter, who he loves more than life itself. When I got thrown in the garbage truck, okay? Originally, that was supposed to be John Cena. First of all, he's not asking me to do anything he wouldn't do himself. He hasn't done himself. He hasn't done to his wife or daughter or son. The plan for Brett, the reason I brought Brett in, quite honestly, was because I was given Thunder. I didn't want to do Thunder on Thursday nights. It was not my idea. It was Ted Turner's idea. As far as what happened that day, and I say this with all due respect for Steve Borden and for Sting, the character. Steve Borden, the person, was going through a lot. And at some point late in the afternoon, Hulk pulled me aside and said, brother, I just don't see this. He's not committed. He's not engaged. He said 12 months to get ready for what is arguably the big, now Hulk didn't say this, but this was the message. I showed up, because I knew what I was in for. I knew I was going to be in for like a 5-hour conversation about what's going to happen in the match. And he's going to be thinking that I'm doing this because I'm trying to screw him out of his deal or trying to get leverage. That's just the way his brain worked. Okay, whatever. So I walk around the corner, and there's Randy, just stark-ass naked, dyeing his beard and his hair in the mirror, getting ready, right? He's meticulous. Eyebrows, nostril hair, whatever, he's dyeing. Randy's over here to the left of the bathroom. He goes over here, and he goes, he looks at Randy, he looks at me. When I sign things, occasionally, you know, somebody brings something special. Somebody brought a collectible NWO thing, you know, and they wanted a special signature on it. So I'll sign my name, and I always sign it when I do that. I don't always do this, but when I do it, I'll sign my name, and I'll put AWA, because that was the first place I ever worked. WCW was the second. NWO, because it was NWO. And WWE. You'll hardly ever see me acknowledge TNA. So I never really hated ECW. What I did resent and react to were lies. When Paul Heyman would preach to his talent, and by the way, the reason he did it, and this isn't coming, you're hearing it from me, but this is coming from people, and I'm not going to mention their names because it'll get back to it and turn into a shitstorm. Paul Heyman would tell his wrestlers, mostly because he couldn't pay them, he wouldn't pay them, he was late paying them, and he would lie to them about it. I've known Paul for 30 years. I knew Paul when Paul was kind of a rinky-dink little promoter in the AWA, and Vern Gagne wouldn't trust him in the building, you know, after hours. No, she was too big. She's beautiful, but I would have a hard time having a marital relationship with someone that was that much bigger than me, and probably stronger. By the time I got there, walked into his trailer, and there's a case of beer there, and a case of Cuban cigars. He's sitting there waiting for me. Long story short, he said, so brother, who's going to be the third guy? Because by now it was playing out on TV. I said, well, why do you want to know? I didn't want to tell him. I didn't tell anybody. The only person that knew at that point was Sting. Kevin Nash didn't know, Scott Hall didn't know. Despite what they say in interviews, they're full of crap. They didn't know. And then it was Vince. Instead of JR calling me, it was Vince calling me. And that was the first conversation I had with Vince, and we got along great over the phone. I made up my mind 30 seconds into the conversation that I was going to do it. I was done. What had happened? By then it was already, they'd secured the situation. The guys were gone, doors were locked, and bad. Had I known, I'd like to think, because you never know for sure, But if I'd have had 10 minutes to think about it, I'd have let them in. That would have been the coolest show. I mean, obviously I would have let him. I called Vince McMahon out. I wanted to fight him in the ring.